It's going to be a 3-2. There is no way after all the weeks of practice and them coming close to the Chiefs that I'm going to suddenly say that they can't at least take a couple of games, if not the series.
I mean, we've saved the best for last, haven't we? It's
Naturally.
It's a special. It's a Raw and Order SUV, if you like.
No.
I went there.
Fantastic, though. I tell you what, I've been kind of the same network anyway, so that's absolutely fine. No, it's going to be a testament. So AOEM coming in. Now, this is my one concern, is that without the likes of Dumbo, who has just sat so nicely on this roster, how will AOEM perform going up against a team that has been improving each and every week? Sydney Raw, Melbourne Order, they take to the pitch. And if Melbourne Order, if that third player changes things, then Sydney Raw could take over this series.
Well, I mean, if you want to get into specifics, Melbourne Order have had a different player in that third slot every week.
True.
Whether it's been their coach, whether it's been their starting player, Dumbo, or whether it's actually been OEM. Shady and Express have been able to deliver and have already put pressure on, enabling AOEM, the newcomer, to actually score. So great work from him coming through the draft and also coming through the midfield too.
But that's unfortunate. Both players missed it there from Sydney Raw, so a little bit sluggish to kick things off. The Sydney Raw recovery in game one now necessary. Melbourne ought to get that first goal, and it wasn't that hard to read, so how do things develop? AOEM sets it up for Shady again. This one will hit the back wall and pops it up, but no one's looking limber enough to follow it through. Unfortunately, this special victims unit of Melbourne Order, they've started off game number one.
Oh, no, you were going with that?
Yeah, look, I was going to say something that I realised. I'm not going to say that on TV, but Express, he'll showcase big on the TV.
Your intent then was criminal. Let me tell you that. But that is also some precision work from Express. They've combined so well in weeks gone by. Express, Shady, the combination, it works. And these guys are already off to a cracking start. Sydney Raw on the back foot early on. There was some quiet confidence among them early on.
No, going to hit the top 90. They're going to be sent in. Express just hangs up and they come close. Sydney Raw still got time here, however. A big 2-0 start, but Justice Robo, the pass up the chain off that back wall. Robo in a good position, but he goes wide. And now Ghost has to pick up the pieces with a pass to the midfield. It's Shady who receives. And remember Shady being on the Batmobile. Neither do I remember Ghost being on the Batmobile. So a couple of changes here from both teams. Unfortunately, that's also a player from Sydney Raw. But 2-0 start. Express, the centre there. Great pass. Shady comes in quick, but maybe too quick for his liking. Sydney Raw as a three-man unit. They're a little bit clumped there. So Melbourne Order going to be able to bring this one back down, and Shady doesn't need to commit. Still that 2-0, still that comfortability factor that's going to keep Melbourne Order in a very good position.
And you're looking quite comfortable today too, Jake, might I add.
Well, I'm standing up now, so yeah.
Outstanding in your field. The scarecrow, as you will. But AOEM now just going to meet this ball. No one really putting pressure on it from Raw, but as I say that, Robo does a good job of just trying to maintain pressure. But Express and Shady already have shown that their chemistry, their passing plays, they're on point, they're looking to score. Shady's been so lethal in front of goals. He's been piling on just goal after goal after goal. I'd love to see a montage of his impact in his league.
Set up again, AOEM goes wide. And as well as Melbourne Order starving the boost now, the runaway Ghost just needs to take it to the other end of the pitch, and unfortunately he won't. Now the big leap of faith as they set themselves up nightly. Melbourne Order nailing the coffin.
There we go, and I mean, it started with Ghost, didn't it? He went from spectre to spectator because there's not a lot he could have done in that actual defensive play. And Melbourne Order have just been piling on goals, and even in this first game, Sydney Raw are feeling the rough end of the stick.
But look, game one, again, it's fast becoming a meme, but not one without, I guess, seeing every single game one being a little bit different from the rest. For Melbourne Order, game number one is a big start, and right now Sydney Raw can't get it out of their field, their side of the field, excuse me. For Shady, waiting in front of that net, just going to play around with the ball. For Justice Robo, can he take it away? Ghost is here on the other side of the field with a full tank of gas. Robo's there, can he pass it back? Change, waiting patiently, but Sydney Raw, they just can't get it through. Change sets it up nicely, but the second touch as he centers it there, but Justice Robo doesn't come up and they've already backed off. It's unfortunate so far, but I guess for Sydney Raw, now it's more about how we can read Melbourne Order a lot better.
From Raw's perspective, they just need to get some fluidity amongst themselves, get those passes going. That ball control was very testing there, but finally they get themselves a reprieve.
There it is, the first goal for Sydney Raw goes. Sets it up, Change could have put it down.
I think he needed to take the shot there too. Maybe that's just the confidence lacking at the moment, but he could have put a shot on goal there, really tested the defence, and I think the result would have been similar in the sense that if he hadn't missed, the ball would have ended up in a similar area. So maybe they just need to back themselves a little bit more. That's a great touch.
Oh, great demo, great touch. Melbourne Order running laps over Sydney Raw right now. The demo and the touch, mind you, as well. So AOEM would have just seen where the ball's going, gets the demo and through the smoke. That's a beautiful touch.
Sydney Raw now need to reset themselves mentally.
Well, I mean, they could do it. There's a passionate crowd behind Sydney Raw, so if they ever motivated a team, it has to be in this series. For Sydney Raw, the runaway not really possible anymore. So now about recovering from this game one. Passing plays just have not been coming out. Something that we've seen in previous weeks. Going up against Melbourne Order, who rely on this. Now off the backboard, it's just time and time again. These long extensive pass plays as Shady goes wide for it. Game one's going to be interesting because how this finishes. 4-1, 4-0. Sydney Raw right now looks like a 4-0, and that's the issue. Could dictate the series.
And AOEM, the newcomer in this team, has already shown that he's so decisive in front of goal. He's had 3 shots, he's scored 2 of them. So in terms of conversion rate, he's doing his job. He's already slotted into this team so well. I actually didn't think the fact that they had someone in that 3rd slot for Melbourne Order this week was going to be too much of a factor. The reason being is every week they've had someone new and they've delivered every time. So that for me just says Express and Shady work so well together. On Sydney Raw's side of things, they need to find themselves some consistency.
Well, game one goes over to the side of Melbourne Order, but there was an opportunity there again for Sydney Raw. There was time and time again an opportunity. No shots on goal from Sydney Raw. Yeah,
they weren't creating chances, were they? I mean, there was an instance there where they did have chances, but they didn't actually take a shot at the end of it. I think Ghost was the one that could have been on the end of that.
Yep.
For him, unfortunately, he didn't take the shot. So, I mean, there's 3 zeros on that board in terms of shots on goal. So that, for me, just says that they're not even willing to take some chances. They're being decisively shut out. Melbourne Order are so much faster on the ball too. It's really hard to get your passing game going when you're being beaten to the ball.
But also you have to remember that AOEM is not an unexperienced player. AOEM has been around in the scene for a very long time. He was on the roster of Scylla for a while and he played with the likes of, correct me if I'm wrong, we had Dumbo in there as well. Even had Daisu at one point. He was in the crowd up the back there somewhere as well, repping the dare chair. But Melbourne Order, it's hard to get through them, and AOEM just showcasing why he was such a good player to begin with. I just can't say much more about Sydney Raw. There needs to be a change in game 2.
And Express and Shady have done the same thing week in, week out. They put the ball in the right areas, whether it's Shady on the end of it, whether it's Express on the end of it, and this time whether it's AOEM on the end of it, they're creating a lot of chances. And the fact that they were able to keep Sydney Raw, shotless in that match meant that they were controlling that ball so well. They were just pushing away. Any attacking build-up was almost immediately cancelled out by Melbourne Order's defence. And they, again, just so much faster on the ball, so much more confident in those plays.
Well, the Shady Express duo is one we've always talked up. And again, game 1, we just saw exactly why. How does this change? How do we enable Sydney Raw? Justice Robo, I don't think he's having the best game so far, but game 2, remember it is a best of 5, so it's anyone's game. We'll see if it can be changed by Sydney Raw.
And that is exactly what Raw and Order is missing, some justice.
There's already been a victim though in game 1. Honestly, if we see 3 of them, it's not going to be too good for Sydney Raw. Now up the field, change. Robo's there. Can he center the ball for the first goal? Drops it down instead. That's a good sign of life, however. The pass back to Ghost. He pops it up, tries to drop it down. The second shot already in 30 seconds. Sydney Raw have gotten 2 shots off the bat.
So much more positive from them too. That's immediately, they've rectified what was missing in game 1. Some creativity in front of goals, and they're going for it. They need to. So it's great to see that change immediately out of the gates for Sydney Raw. But They know that they're going to have to dig deep in defense, and that was what they weren't able to do, was just stop that, I guess, stem that tide that Melbourne Order were just restricting their opponents.
But no one's going up for the ball. That was an opportunity for Sydney Roar as well. The ball bouncing in front of net, but immediately Melbourne Order bring it back down, and they've got ample opportunities themselves. Slow to the ball, Sydney Roar, and the pass is there. AOEM taking it himself, hits that back wall. What a setup, it goes wide. One last shot, Express. The rotation from Melbourne Order as always.
Yeah, look, even if they missed that shot there as Shady did, uncharacteristic from him. He's been so good in front of goals, but Express is there. Express knew that he was needed potentially, and they found themselves the opening goal. But Sydney Roar, far more positive in his opening exchanges, and they can take positives from that. But as we said, they just need to deal with that attack from Melbourne Order.
Match the aggression. Shady just set this one up again. Justice Robo saves it away, but turns into a play from change. Ghost is there. What a nice setup. Sydney Roar finally, and with a pristine goal.
That is fantastic passing play. Ghost spinning everybody out. That change to the Batmobile. He's looked a lot more comfortable on it in game 2. Let me tell you that. I think maybe game 1 wasn't quite sure, but
I tell you what, that goal was beautiful. And finally, that sign of life is back. Shady put on the defense, and Melbourne Order, if you put them on the defense, the intercept from change. But again, more opportunities being created there by Sydney Roar. Justice Robo will come around the side. Shady clears at centre field, and change has to get back. Okay there, Mr. Nesso. But Sydney Roar, finally, they're in a position to contest.
Finally, they're making a game out of this in the sense that they're contesting everything. Change has been solid in front of goals. But more importantly, Ghost and Robo going forward.
Oh, what a save from Change. Ghost knocks it out. Sydney Roar, they're really testifying here. AOEM, he comes down, the ball, Shady goes past. Now Change, Ghost is in the midfield. He's waiting for the centre. Intercept again. Sydney Roar coming off this right wing, it'll be Justice Robo. It bounces towards net, hitting off that backboard, and Change still playing very passively. They get it past him, they almost get it past Ghost. We go back up for the ball, and Justice Robo, the last defender, Shady, almost getting there first, bouncing in front of net. No! Melbourne Order again.
As soon as they came off the roof, that was a really awkward touch to deal with there, and touched out by Robo in the instance. He had to beat his defender, and unfortunately that ball fell into an awkward area. Not a lot Sydney Roar could do. It's always difficult when you're trying to clear that ball and you're running back into your own net. Very difficult shot to hit. Couldn't be done, and Sydney Roar do go down after all those positives. And I mean, Change has been so positive. He's been solid in front of goals, but he's going to need to involve himself just a little bit more, maybe in attacking plays. Robo and Ghost have been great so far.
But it's been a great game so far, and much like cup and ball that Luke is used to back in the old days, this is compelling. Now in front of net, another mistake, capitalised, no. Melbourne Order come close. Sydney Roar finally this time will clear the ball away. Express drops it back down, but Sydney Roar, if the goals get ahead of them, then this is when they fall behind. 2 minutes remaining, the runaway from Robo. Express with a light touch, changes coming in, the angle right, setting up for the third, but a good touch from Melbourne Order. Ghost will have to go back.
And Robo just looking for that next connecting play, but he couldn't quite find it there. Change just getting a little bit more involved, and I mean, Change is as good as a Holiday, but right now I'd argue he's better. And Ghost just missing that touch there. It's left to Robo, just back away, and he's done a good job. Ghost!
Oh, he's found it. It's falling in. Change! He goes wide. Sydney Roar, they have to recover from this, but this is an open one. AOEM sets it around. The third member is Express. It's blocked away, so even though Sydney Roar had an opportunity with that goal, they stay alive. A minute remaining.
They're definitely feeling short-changed there. There's that chance went begging, and normally the only change you need is enough to buy a drink, but either way.
AOEM goes under the ball. Change now. The counter-attack is there. Melbourne Order, they're struggling a little bit here with these touches. Express with the pass back. AOEM goes wide, and Ghost will be able to use that counter clear as an option for Shady. Now around this side, Justice Robo hangs up, but no one's in defense. And Melbourne Order, they get their third.
They do, and I think that relieves some pressure on themselves as well, because Sydney Roar were really bringing it to them in that passage of play. They were looking so good. They had chances to square that ledger, bring it back to 2-2. They couldn't quite capitalise on that open net. And 39 seconds here, 2 goals the difference. Sydney Raw have been creating, but they'll need to create and be decisive.
Well, hang on, that's a good start. Ghost almost slips it through for Robo. Can he pass it? The infields are so important in this situation. Change loses it to M. Now for Express. This one's rolling in and will. Melbourne Order. They put the nail into game number 2. So for Sydney Raw, opportunities created, but Melbourne Order have more.
And so many times when you're down by 2 goals in those last seconds of play, you see people pushing up field, just trying to get that next goal, trying to bring it back to equal pegging. They can't quite do it. And more often than not, they bleed out a goal. And that's exactly what happened to Sydney Raw there. Pushing numbers forward, just trying to flood the midfield, trying to put pressure on. They did concede as a result of not having anybody back. But so much positive stuff to take from this game. So many positives in terms of defense and attack as well. Big difference there. No shots in game 1. Very different story here in game 2.
Well, maybe a 4-1, but like you said, the change is there. And Sydney Raw, they've come close, but Melbourne Order, this one will be cleared away. Game 2. Do we have another 3-0 on our hands? We're about to find out.
And there he is. I guess some telling stats here in the sense that Ghost, 4 shots this time. You could tell last match he was shying away from him. He didn't take a chance when he needed to. This time, I think he's been given the go-ahead. Some faith has been placed in him, and he's looking a lot more confident. He just needed to get that conversion rate up. As Melbourne Order did what they normally do. They just created a lot of chances and put a lot of...
I love how anyone going for Melbourne Order in the crowd's just getting booed out immediately. Like, there is absolutely no love whatsoever. But for Melbourne Order, they don't need love right now. They've got what it takes. They've got the skills. And they're showcasing that first goal. Opened things up, but Sydney Raw, it was that change. It was that counter-attack that you're going to see shortly. Right here for change. What a pass to Ghost. That's what we need to see. That's what Sydney Raw need.
More of that, please. More of that, please. And Ghost looked fantastic. But I think more importantly, from Raw's perspective, they proved to themselves that they can actually get themselves back into a match. And that goal, it was only 1 goal, but still, it actually just momentarily turned the tide back in their favour.
But this right here, like Justice Robo changed too far ahead, and Melbourne Order just saw the opening, and Shady, light breeze, walked away with it. So Sydney Raw, these quicker rotations like Melbourne Order have always showcased. Express and Shady, one's up, one's back. Or if they commit for a play, they commit hard. So we'll find out in game 3, because this is, I think, going to be the closest series if Sydney Raw can keep up with that pace. Or we just see another 3-0.
Well, they've proved in previous weeks they've got the gusto when needed to actually come back into matches. So Sydney Raw have done it before. They've come back and nearly reverse swept. They nearly did it to that Chiefs lineup.
Nearly, though.
But it's a difficult ask here.
It definitely is. We're going to have to find out if they can take us beyond a game 3. We're going to throw to these commercials, and then we'll be right back after this.
Welcome back to the Gfinity Elite Series. We're looking at some sweet Rocket League action that we've just been seeing. There's Express getting a sick goal. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. We are brought to you by Dare Ice Coffee and Astro Headsets. Right now, it's time to cross back to my co-host, Ashley Wells. Ash, I believe you're chatting to some cool young dudes.
I certainly am. We've got some Rocket League fans here, I'm sure. Do you guys play Rocket League at all?
Yeah, I play Rocket League. I've been playing for about like a year or two. It's a really fun game.
Yeah, I've probably been playing same as him. Sometimes I get a little bored of it because I'm just playing Fortnite, but then I come back to it.
Always coming back to Rocket League. What about you? Do you play Rocket League? How long have you been playing for?
I've been playing for 1 year, like them two, and I just love scoring goals and playing.
And what about you?
I just watch YouTube clips of usually Fortnite, and I play Fortnite, but I don't watch or play Rocket League.
But all good. All good, but maybe you will after this. What about you, sir? Do you like Rocket League?
Yeah, it's good.
So, what do you guys think is the best part about Rocket League?
Scoring goals.
Yeah, scoring goals pretty good. What about you guys? Are you good at scoring goals? Room for improvement? What's your favourite part?
Yeah, me and Tom, and Bo and Chester, all of us play soccer. And Rocket League is just like a video game about soccer, just in cars. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, like Tom, I love cars and I love soccer as well, but I always play FIFA as well.
Nice. Got some soccer fans, some car fans. It's an absolute great combo. Thanks for talking to me, guys. Back to you, Luke.
Thanks very much. Good work, dudes. Must stress that Rocket League is the best game. We don't want to mention any other games. Rocket League forever, all right?
It's just a couple of dudes about your age really enjoying Rocket League.
We're all in year 3. They're all in year 3. So sweet talk with Rocket League. So a lot of the cool young dudes are playing at home. Get into it. Those guys might be up on stage very soon if they keep at it. And stop playing Fortnite, guys. Get into Rocket League.
I'm actually worried for my job. I mean, they were so good on the microphone. They'll be here in a few days' time.
In a few weeks. Right now, let's talk about the match that's been before we throw back to it. Yummy Cheese Man, is this how you expected it would play out? It seems pretty one-sided.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with Sydney Roar is they're just not keeping up with the pace right now of Melbourne Order, and it's tough because this crowd wants Sydney to win. Yep. I kind of want Melbourne Order to lose, but it's not going to happen at this rate.
What does Sydney Roar need to do to get back in the game?
They just need to clean up their defence. They need to get those passes out. Because one thing that Melbourne Order have done is that they've shown that they're committing. They've been hitting the side post, but they're still following up. So as soon as you take them out, you can get a quick counter-attack, you get the ball all the way down and catch them off guard.
Are you listening to this, Sydney Roar? Yummy Cheese Man has told you what to do.
I don't think they listen to me.
They're not listening? Yeah. Oh, well, all right. We're going to get back into our final match of the day, Sydney Roar versus the Melbourne Order. Over to you, Jake and Jim.
Thanks very much, gents. And I got to say, that was the best interview I think I've ever seen. Can we put our hands together for those young gents in the crowd again? Like, honestly, I mean, apart from the Fortnite, that was, not bad.
Yeah, look, I'm glad Luke could bring some of his classmates along to support him on the host.
Yeah, while he's doing his HSC at the same time. So,
but kids, stay away from Fortnite. It's a fad. It's a stage you're going through. It'll last about 2 weeks.
All right, mate. It doesn't. But anyway, we're talking about Rocket League here because this is a very different game.
Yeah.
This game between Brisbane to Sydney Roar. Sorry, I'm stuck in a loop. Sydney Roar have a chance. And why do I say this? Because of what I saw last game, how they got that goal to equalise and then they let it run away. And so there's a change. There is a change that can happen to Sydney Roar.
And we're not just talking in terms of the player either. But he stood up in that match. He got in front of goals, did his job defensively. But more importantly, the outlets were there. Just as Robo was going forward. He was creating chances for Ghost. Ghost was taking those chances as well. So the confidence was radiating a little bit more than it has in previous instances. So keen to see whether or not they can take it here. They have done it in the past, and this is a different test for them now.
But they need the crowd behind them. Sydney Roar, we know you're out there. If you're supporting Sydney Roar, make some noise. They need you right now. In this week 3 for Ghost, can he get away with the ball? Comes out of the corner, changing Justice Robo, holding up, but Robo's there. The pass is over the top. Good save from Justice Robo. AOEM's down, but he's missed the ball, and Sydney Roar survive another day.
He was equal to that challenge, wasn't he, Robo? And this could be testing here because there's actually a demolition on change, so a player just out momentarily. Thankfully, it did not actually cost them whatsoever, but there is an outlet again. just a transition in play. As Change misses that one there. Robo will put that one onto the backboard. Can Ghost get there? No. Met well and cleared out by Express.
At least they're committing up to the ball right now for Melbourne Order. The defense for Sydney Raw, that's what they've seen as the weakness, but goes to intercept. Good intercept at that. He'll set it up for himself. He's run out of boost. He smacks it down. Robo's there for a pinch with AOEM. 2 members up, changed the third. Robo's recovered his boost, but again, Melbourne Order just gets to the ball first. With a centre field. Now for Change on the defense. It'll be an easy clear, but intercepted, no. AOEM left for Shady. Over to Express, the dunk down, turns into the backboard, a light touch from Shady. A close call again.
And maybe that could have been the difference, but for now, that chance goes begging, and there's the counter. Change this time, going from defense to attack and providing an outlet for Sydney Raw. They needed to open the account there, but great contest in front of goals right now. These two teams are meeting that ball with such pace.
But what a pass there to AOEM. Again, they come close. Melbourne Order, the difference is when they're on attack, they stay in attack. Shady, you sneaky devil, that wasn't your goal.
Just pinching one for the stats. That demolition on Robo, fantastic.
The crowd's still booing Melbourne, but that's unfortunate. First goal, 3 minutes. However, for Sydney Raw, it's getting better and better. Closing out the gap. That's what needs to be seen. For Shady, he takes the ball away. Sydney Raw on the defense here. AOEM changes there. Melbourne Order again. Staying in the midfield. The crowd erupts for Sydney Raw, but what can they get done for Justice Robo? He sets it up around the corner. The dunk down for Ghost. He just needs to pass it back, but Express is there. Change. Hits the roof. Justice Robo goes up. Shady missed the ball, but Robo wasn't there in time. And immediately Change. Ghost is the last member. Express will lob it to the side. He now gets the touch off the wall. Dunking it for Shady. Goes wide.
That could have been a goal there, potentially too, because the defense, the rotation was slow from Raw and it didn't get punished, thankfully. This game's still in equilibrium. Ghost, again, showing why he's so dynamic, such a player to watch. He's providing, again, chances here, but he'll need to provide more because that is off the backboard, thankfully, but it's followed up by AOEM.
Melbourne Order, the 3-man rotation clean as always. And you have to say, I mean, Robo just got his saviour medal, but it's just not enough here. Sydney Raw struggling once again, 2-0 down. And Melbourne Order could be our third 3-0 of the day.
And he's having a wide area of effect, isn't he, AOEM? And Change, just having to get back. Actually gets demolished for his efforts, and Shady puts that one on. Oh, Ghost reading it well, pushing it away, but momentary pressure here for Sydney Raw as they do try and absorb it. But AOEM is doing a great job of just holding that ball up. This is what Melbourne Order do. They just constrict you in that midfield. They box you in. And unfortunately, that is what Raw are suffering right now. They need that outlet. They need to find a way past this defence. There's actually so far up in the midfield.
They're just staying on the offense, though. That's the biggest issue here. Melbourne Order, they're able to push 2 members forward, keep 1 back, and then continue that rotation. Whereas Sydney Raw, they commit 3 members. They commit hard. And if they get caught out, things like this happen. AOEM sets it off the roof. They've already gone in. His 4th save of the game. Now it is only 2-0, but that save will do wonders. The setup again, that backboard. Shady for AOEM. It'll hit again. Shady's back in the fight, but if we get a goal in the next minute from Sydney Raw, they can recover this lead.
His rotations are so high up the field from Melbourne Order, and they're just keeping that ball in the danger zone for them. And now Justice Robo has been fantastic in defence, but they need to go forward and create. They've spent so much time in game number 3 defending, but this could be the end of the series right now if they don't find 2 quick goals.
They're just giving too much space to Melbourne Order right now. That ball should have been hit away ages ago. Change goes up, but intercept again. AOEM pops it in front, 40 seconds left remaining. Right now, that could be all she wrote. Shady with a wide miss. AOEM brings it back in. Express pops it there, and I think this could be it. Time has run out. And Sydney Raw, they've put on their best shoes, but unfortunately, Melbourne Order, they've once again done it. This will come in off the roof, off the backboard, in fact. With 20 seconds left remaining. Sydney Raw, they're all out of options.
They put on their best shoes, but they played with soul. Unfortunately, they were given the boot in the end. And Melbourne Order now looking for that icing on the cake.
Well, 1 second left remaining, Gymnasto, but Melbourne Order, they've done enough. Change just wants one to finish it off, but they won't. Melbourne Order, 3-0 against Sydney Raw. The crowd may not be happy, but Melbourne Order will be.
And I'm really excited to see the fact that Sydney Raw are actually gaining some support outside the game. They played really well in Game 2. Game 3, didn't really have that control over the match. You can see going forward there, 5 shots, Express, and both Shady creating again, but also more importantly, just getting into the right areas. Not as many chances created for Sydney Raw in this match, only Ghost and Change getting shots off on goal, but Justice Robo putting in a massive shift in defence. Unfortunately for him, it wasn't enough. He still let 2 through, and Sydney Raw take a lot of positives out of this.
Well, you have to remember as well, from Game 1 where they had 0 shots, there's been development in this series. Sydney Raw, I think they're getting better each and every week, but you've got this advantage of people like Shady Express. I mean,